Thank you all for coming. New guests here, also thank you very much for coming. We hope we'll make this entertaining enough so you'll want to go back. And educational enough. So tonight we have, this is the first time I've actually given a lecture on kind of how the whole International Society kind of got established. So, and we're going to have some fun doing this. We're going to meet some folks and have to use some things on the screen, got a lot of visuals. And we always like to start with at least some kind of a, we always try to start with some kind of a Sanskrit, or in this case today, we usually do Sanskrit, but today we're going to actually do something from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is in Bengali, which is also one of the main sources of our Vaishnava literature. So it's all these languages that we invoke here at this program are actually very melodious languages, and they're meant to actually be sung. Like they say in the spiritual world, every step is a dance and every word is a song. So, and you'll see when we read the Sanskrit stuff, I think most people have been here before can actually get an appreciation for the melody that we sometimes are able to invoke when we chant these mantras. So I have on the screen here tonight a photograph, or I should say an illustration, of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, because the verse we're going to read is giving acknowledgement to Sanatana Goswami, who was one of the great, one of the 6 Goswamis, who actually were the ones who compiled and brought together the whole Krishna conscious philosophy about 500 years ago in Bengal, or in Vrindavan, I should say, northern India. So they each contributed a tremendous amount. Sanatana Goswami contributed the Nectar of Devotion, which is one of our sort of textbook scriptures. But what I'm going to read from tonight is what we're going to read from tonight, and then we're going to go into some of the details of, okay, let's see the place here, of how ISKCON actually got established. But this particular verse comes from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, which means the middle section. of this whole big series of gold books at the bottom shelf next to the fireplace here. And Lord Chaitanya is specifically instructing Sanatana Goswami to teach this philosophy. This is about 500 years ago in northern Bengal, or northern India. So if we could just kind of go through, first we'll invoke some prayers to Vedavyas, and I will go through this real quickly because I don't want to slow the program down. We've got a lot of interesting stuff I'd like to go over. So I'll just do this on my own, and then we'll get involved with this. This first one we always chant respectively. We go with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So this prayer right at the bottom here, we're basically giving our respects to Vedavyas, who is the author, the literary incarnation of Krishna, who actually came at the end of the Kali Yuga, or at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, the beginning of the Kali Yuga, and compiled for our benefit these tremendous teachings that were previously handed down through oral reception. And so, if you have any sense of familiarity with the Vedic literatures, you can appreciate these are tremendously vast volumes of information. For example, all of the books on the bottom shelf that go up to the gold books is about 18,000 verses. That's called the Bhagavad Purana. And that is just one of the smaller Puranas out of the 18 that are available. So this is considered one of the smaller ones. But the benefit of this particular Purana is that it has the essence of everything one needs to know. And it's also very relishable to read and to study. And so we go into that a little bit too. But for those who might be intimidated by, oh my God, this thing is, you got to be a scholar to get into this. No, you don't have to be a scholar to get into this. If you have the interest in going deeply into philosophy, we have the information that we can share with you. Most of it is summarized very nicely in the Bhagavad Gita, which is only 700 verses long. And it's basically that is the greatest gift that India has given the world. It's the Bhagavad Gita. And that Bhagavad Gita is the summary or condensation of the essence of all the Vedic literatures, and it's only 700 verses. So, with that, I will then invoke these prayers here. I'll just chant them so everybody can appreciate these. I'll turn them a little bit bigger so you can see. We always give acknowledgement to our spiritual master. We always give acknowledgement to our spiritual master. His photograph is on the wall over here. Bhaktivedanta Swami. He is the one who came, and we're going to hear a lot about him tonight, who came in 1965. I want everybody to think about this for a minute. The next time you go to LA, for whatever business you're going on, think how comfortable you would be if you went with only like $10 in your pocket. And that's it. And you maybe live in Carpinteria or live here in Ojai or Ventura. I don't think very many of us would knowingly and consciously go to LA with just $10 in our pocket. But one of the things we're going to learn about tonight is that Bhaktivedanta Swami came from Calcutta, India, to America in 1965 on a tramp steamliner with no more than $10 in his pocket.
I think it was 7.
Yeah, I'm exaggerating for the sake of caution. And it was basically 40 rupees, but good big deal. I mean, try going down to the corner store and buying something for 40 rupees, you know. So I want you to think about that, because we're going to find out some really interesting stuff tonight that for most people who hear it, it's hard to really comprehend what Bhaktivedanta Swami did. So we're going to say Om Namo, I'll say on behalf of all of us, Om Namo, Nama Om Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shimanti Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane, which means I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. And then we say Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pacharani Nivrashesha Sinivadi Pashkata Deshtarne. All respectful obeisances unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Saraswati Goswami. He's another one of the 6 Goswamis. I was mentioning earlier, Sanatana Goswami Saraswati is another one. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya and delivering the Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. We've talked about that on many occasions. I'm not going to get into it right now. And then we give our respects to Lord Chaitanya, who's the picture here in front of the fireplace, with his 5 associates. And we do that by saying Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, these are the 2 people. Sri Advaita, 3 people. Gadadhar, 4th person. And Srinivas is the 5th expansion of Lord Chaitanya. And Gaura Bhaktivinoda, which are all the other great Vaishnava devotees in the lineage that we're teaching here tonight. So, having gotten out of the way, let's now go to this. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I do want to at least do some traditional thing. So we're going to, go ahead, I'll read it in English. Let me make it a little bit bigger for everybody so they can see it. I'll read the English, ask everybody to repeat it, then we'll go through a little bit of the Bengali so you can get a sense of what it sounds like. And this is another work called the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which basically means the living force of Lord Chaitanya, who came as Krishna, as his own devotee. Radharani gave a wonderful lecture on that 2 weeks ago at our last program. So, this is Lord Chaitanya speaking to Sanatana Goswami. Please repeat. Establish devotional service to Lord Krishna and Radharani in Vrindavan.
Establish devotional service to Lord Krishna and Radharani in Vrindavan.
You should also compile scriptures and preach the bhakti cult from Vrindavan.
You should also compile bhakti scriptures and preach the bhakti cult from Vrindavan.
You know, some of you might be reacting to this word cult. It kind of has a negative connotation in the Western world nowadays. We don't let it bother us. Because if you read it in the dictionary, basically it just means an organization that's kind of revolving around one particular thought stream. And our organization definitely revolves around the thought stream of Krishna, who is, and for those of you, we've got some guests here from some other denominations. When we talk about Krishna, we're not really necessarily saying that's the only name for God. In fact, you'll find in many of our books that we say if you want to refer to him as Jehovah or Allah or Yahweh or any other tradition, even if you were happen to be of Muslim discrimination, then we would say Allah. Any bona fide name that reminds you of and helps you to think of God is perfectly agreeable to us and acceptable. So we're very generous in that way. We don't say you got to do it our way. We say if you're not happy with what you're dealing with and you want to explore some new stuff, we're happy to share it with you. But we encourage people to follow whatever tradition that speaks to them the most. So with that, let's do the Bengali here, and then we'll put the verse together and we'll read the purport and we'll get on to the big kick for tonight. So it goes like this. Vrindavane, in Vrindavan, Krishna Seva, the service of Lord Krishna. Vaishnavacharya, behavior of Vaishnavas. Bhakti Shruti Shastra, the reference books of devotional service. Kare, compiling. Kariha, do. Prachara, preaching. So this is what it would sound like. Let's go one more word.
Can you make it bigger, Mishra?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I'll go one word at a time so everybody can get the chance to wrap their. Bengali's not quite as tongue-twisting as Sanskrit, so maybe this will be a little easier. Is that a little better?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's room over here if you want to sit on the floor. It's a little hard because I'm kind of in your way. Okay. Vrindavane, Krishna Seva, Vaishnava Achara, Vrindavane Krishna Seva, Vaishnava Achara, Vrindavane Krishna Seva, Vaishnava Achara, Bhakti
Bhakti,
Smriti,
Smriti,
Shastra,
Shastra,
Kari,
Kari,
Kariha,
Kariha,
Prachara,
Prachara,
Bhakti, Smriti, Shastra, Kari, Kariha, Prachara,
Bhakti, Smriti, Shastra, Kari, Kariha, Prachara,
Good. Bhakti, Smriti, Shastra, Kari, Kariha, Prachara,
Bhakti, Smriti, Shastra, Kari, Kariha, Prachara,
Vrindavane Krishna Seva Vaishnava Achara,
Vrindavane Krishna Seva Vaishnava Acharya,
Bhakti Smriti Shastra Kare Kariha Prachara,
Bhakti Smriti Shastra Kari Kariha Prachara,
one more time, Vrindavane Krishna Seva Vaishnava Achara,
Vrindavane Krishna Seva Vaishnava Acharya,
Bhakti Smriti Shastra Kare Kariha Prachara,
Bhakti Smriti Shastra Kari Kariha Prachara.
Okay, would somebody else like to try it? No arms get twisted. Come on, Rajani, come out here and show me how to do it.
Vrindavane Krishna Seva Vaishnava Acharya.
Vrindavane Krishna Seva Vaishnava Acharya.
Bhakti Smriti Shastra Kari Kariha Prachara.
Bhakti Smriti Shastra Kare Kariha Prachara. Did anybody else go ahead, Mark?
Vrindavane Krishna Seva Vaishnava Acharya.
Vrindavane Krishna Seva Vaishnava Acharya.
Bhakti Smriti Shastra Kari Kariha Prachara.
Bhakti Smriti Shastra Kare Kariha Prachara. Great. Anybody else want to try it before we move on to the next thing?
I'll do it.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Let's see, I gotta get
Gotta
here.
get out here in the middle.
Yeah, okay. Get out in
No
front of
big
everybody. I feel like I'm in grade school.
You are.
Well, okay. That makes me really feel good. Thank you.
Spiritual good.
Vrindavane Krishna Seva Vaishnava Acharya.
Vrindavane Krishna Seva Vaishnava Acharya.
Bhakti Smriti Shastra Kari Kariha Pachara.
Bhakti Smriti Shastra Kari Kariha. Anybody else want to try?
Vrindavane Krishna Seva Vaishnava Acharya,
Vrindavane Krishna Seva Vaishnava Acharya.
Bhakti Smriti Shastra Kari Kariya Prachara,
Bhakti Smriti Shastra Kari Kariha Prachara. Good. By the way, this Bengali, it's considered to be like a very high form of Bengali, but if you were to walk around in Bengal and say this, they would actually understand what you're saying. And in fact, if you chanted it really, like Rajani did very melodiously, if they're relatively educated and aware of Lord Chaitanya, which many people in Bengal are, they might even recognize this as a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So you're getting real culture tonight. Okay. Okay. So here's so again, Lord Chaitanya is saying to Sanatana Goswami, establish devotional service to Lord Krishna in Radharani and Vrindavan. You should also compile bhakti scriptures and preach the bhakti cult from Vrindavan. And that is, in fact, exactly what he did. And as we read a little earlier, Srila Prabhupada, in that same mood, came and brought this mission, this knowledge, this cult, if you will, to the Western world. And we're going to find out how he did that in a minute. This is a short purport. I'll read it relatively quickly. And you'll see how Bhaktivedanta Swami actually took this instruction and picked it up where it was given and carried it into our generation 500 years later. So it goes like this. Sanatana Goswami is enjoined, 1, to broadcast the revealed scriptures on devotional service and establish the conclusions of devotional service. 2, to reestablish lost places of pilgrimage like Vrindavan and Radhakund. 3, to establish the Vrindavan method of temple worship and install deities in temples. Sri Sanatana Goswami established the Madan Mohan temple, and Rupa Goswami established the Govindaji temple. So these are some more of these other members of the 6 Goswami group here. Usually, I think they were all either brothers or cousin brothers. As Srila Sanatana Goswami did in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. In this way, that's a book. In this way, Sanatana Goswami was empowered to establish the cult of Vaishnavism, as stated by Srinivasacharya in his Sat Goswami Ashakta. Nana Shastra Vicharina Nipuno Saddharma Samstapiko Lokana Hitakarina Tribhuvane Manyo Sanatra Karo. This is actually a song. Radha Krishna Paravinda Bhajanindriya Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Sri Jiva Gopala Go. And this is what it means. I offer my respectful obeisances on the 6 Goswamis, namely, here they are: Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who are very experts in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. The Krishna consciousness movement continues the tradition of the 6 Goswamis, especially Srila Sanatana Goswami and Srila Rupa Goswami. Serious students of this Krishna consciousness movement must understand their great responsibility to preach the cult in Vrindavan, devotional service to the Lord all over the world. We now have a nice temple in Vrindavan, and serious students should take advantage of it. I'm very hopeful that some of our students can take up this responsibility and render the best service to humanity by educating people in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so I wanted to kind of introduce that tonight to really set the mood for how Srila Prabhupada took this sort of generic instruction and brought it to the West. And think about this again. Remember, would you go to LA with $10 and that's it? On a one-way ticket? Well, that's basically, you would. Okay, well, she's adventurous there in soul. But I'm trying to make the point that Bhaktivinoda Swami left Bengal. He basically begged a ride from Srimati Majari. Anyhow, I'm going to give you a couple of the basic points here we're going to go into. So, in 1922, he met his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who we have a small picture of him up there. But that's basically Srila Prabhupada's teacher. So in our tradition, every teacher has a teacher who has a teacher who has a teacher. It goes all the way back to the beginning of time when Lord Brahma spoke to Narada Muni, and it came all the way down. So, and this is a very important question for anybody who has any dealings with people from India, if you're into anybody kind of Indian tradition. I don't care who it is, what Swami, what society you're working with, they all have a lineage. And you should find out what their lineage is. Some of them are more legitimate than others. And that's a whole other discussion. But they all have lineages. And if you don't know, you ask, hopefully they'll tell you. So in 1947, India got its independence. And at the time, Srila Prabhupada kind of, initially he thought, well, how can we teach our tradition of Indian philosophy when the British are basically running our country? And Bhaktisiddhanta was very powerful when he said, it's got nothing to do with that. Government and politics has nothing to do with spiritual awakening. And we can actually apply that right now. I mean, there's people that are all over the internet now talking about the upcoming election and this and everybody's getting all sidetracked news. And many people have heard me say here, and people who know me know, I don't really care who wins because it's not going to change anything. As long as the laws of nature are being violated, as long as the principles of religion are being violated, I don't care who's in politics. The real proper way to solve the world's problems is to solve the 4 basic principles of Dharma, which is austerity, cleanliness, truthfulness, and mercy. Mercy, thank you. So, I don't want to get distracted from that. So in 1956, Srila Prabhupada established a center in Jhansi, India, and he kind of got a few people to pay attention to him, and then he ran into very worldly problems. The governor of Jhansi his wife wanted the building that he had basically gotten donated to him from a wealthy businessman. She said, well, we would like to use that for some kind of a woman's club. And he basically got kicked out. And it was like, okay, then that was a false start. He had a few people that were there, but it didn't really go very far. And then finally, he decided, he started printing Back to God in 1944, which we actually have a whole series of. It's been going on since then. It's a monthly magazine. And he was advised, magazines, they're kind of nice, but people throw magazines out. Why don't you print some books? So he actually began translating this huge volume of books down here because of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in fact, if you look up over there in the corner, those pink books, that's actually a reproduction of the 3 first volumes of the Bhagavatam, the way he originally printed them in India, like in 1953. And they were reprinted more like as a collector's item for people who want to see. And if you look at that translation and compare it to the one down here, there's some changes. The editors cleaned up his English a little bit because he was still in India, and they edited it a little bit. But for the most part, it's the same thing. Okay, so with that, so then he approached Sumati Manjari, and she owned the steamship organization. They were doing cargo shipping from Calcutta to Boston, and she arranged for him to get on this boat called the Jaladuta, which was basically referred to as a tramp steamliner. And it was such an unusual thing. And when she approached him, these are the 6 Goswamis, when she approached her, and he approached her, she was very discouraging. She said, no, you were 69 years old. You're a very old man. These tramp steamliners are not luxury, cruise ships. You're basically going to get a very simple room. In fact, when she eventually gave him permission to get the ticket and bought him, she had to instruct the people on the boat to make sure there was lots of vegetables because she knew he was a vegetarian. So she said, we're going to have a special guest. But the first couple times that Srila Prabhupada approached her, she said, no, I won't give you the ticket. And he had somebody going in and asking her. He said, no. And she said, no, because it'll kill you. You'll be on the boat for 30 days, and it's not the kind of thing for an old man to do. But Srila Prabhupada understood a very important point that all of his devotees hopefully have understood, and it's one of the core teachings of our whole philosophy. And that is, you should really do everything you can to try to embrace and implore the instructions of your spiritual master into your day-to-day life. And his instruction was by Bhaktisiddhanta, who recognized that he had a good education. He was very capable of speaking English and writing English. And he said, you should go to the Western world. And you need to share this with the people in the Western world. Because by then, nobody had really come and done that. There were people who were coming, they were teaching different pieces of Indian philosophy and yoga, meditation and things like that. But nobody was actually teaching the essence, or what we refer to as the Siddhanta of all Vedic thought, which is our purpose in life is to actually restore our lost relationship with God. Again, whatever name fits for you, whether it's Krishna or Allah or Jesus or whatever, restore your relationship with God. And until you've done that, and if you fail to do that, you've really missed a wonderful opportunity. And who knows where you're going to go on into your next life, because we teach the concept of reincarnation. And you might bounce here or bounce there. So don't miss this opportunity of human life. So he eventually persuaded her. He said, I have no choice. And she said, well, you might die in a boat. He said, well, I might die in a boat. Well, so be it. Then I'm still going. I'm going to get there one way or the other. I'm going to do it. And so she finally appreciated his determination. And she said, okay. So she gave him the ticket. He came to Boston in 1965. He had one letter of recommendation, a sponsor, for those of you who know how the governments work. He couldn't come to America unless he had somebody guaranteeing that he had a place to go when he got here, and somebody who would feed him and give him a place to stay. So there was a very nice gentleman, Mr. Agarwal, and Sally Agarwal, who lived in Butler, Pennsylvania. He got on the bus and he went down to Butler, Pennsylvania, which is just a little simple town in Pennsylvania. And he stayed there for 3 weeks, and he talked at a few colleges, and he met a few people, and he realized, this isn't going to go very far here. I'm in the middle of Butler, Pennsylvania. And he realized, he said many times, that New York City is the greatest city in the world. And it's the word business. New York City is like a big business city. It's, at least then, now it's probably shifted a little bit. 1965, everything was happening in New York. And he said, I'm going to New York. And again, he had very little. And he went up to New York, and the weather was basically tearing him up because nobody from India, where he's used to 100-degree weather, could experience in New York in the winter. I don't know how many people have been to the East Coast. I grew up in New York, but it snows, and it can get really cold and really nasty. And so he went to New York, and he established a little apartment from help with people. And what he did, and we're going to get into that now, what he did was he did what Lord Chaitanya said, which is what the Hare Krishna movement is known for all over the world, is we go out onto the corners and the streets, and we chant the Hare Krishna mantra for people who are hopefully inquisitive to find out, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And the core philosophy behind that is that God's name is synonymous with Him. So whether you understand it or even acknowledge or appreciate it, just by hearing the Hare Krishna mantra, you will automatically start purifying your consciousness. For those of you who are here, Sarva led a really nice, robust Kirtan. I think everybody got a chance to kind of like let go of all that material garbage that tends to fill our head up and experience what it means to be in touch with the Hare Krishna mantra. So whether people appreciate it or not, they get some benefit. And then, of course, for people who are really fortunate, they come forward and say, what are you doing? And that's exactly what happened. Bhaktivinoda Swami went to Tompkins Square Park, didn't know a soul in the world, just total stranger in New York, and he just sat there with his little kartals, little hand symbols, and he sat under a tree in Tompkins Square Park, and he started chanting by himself the Hare Krishna mantra, and eventually the hippies and the freaks from the Lower East Side and all the people that were in Greenwich Village, it was the hippie line. It was kind of like the equivalent of Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco. They started going, who's this old man, Indian dude? What's he doing? And they started asking him, what are you doing? And he said, I'm chanting God's name. And he said, oh. And he said, why don't you join me? And he started with literally a handful of people. They just came around. They didn't even have a clue as to what they were getting involved in. And they just said, he said, yes, come. And then, of course, little by little, he introduced things into our movement. So with that, let me see if I can bring up this. Whoops, this is somebody else. We have the ability now, of course, everybody knows this, there's so much opportunity with the internet. These are lectures, we can go anywhere in the world and see lectures that are going on. So what I wanted to do, we've got a couple of minutes here, instead of me just reading all of this, which I basically paraphrase a lot of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read the last big paragraph, and then there's about 15 verses here. And we're going to go through it, and I'm going to let you guys, those people who want to read it, and actually, hold on here. Before we do that, I want to get this in, because last time we were here, we had an opportunity, but we kind of missed it. So these are the prayers. I think there's 15 verses here. These are the prayers. I don't know if this is big enough. Let me make it a little bigger. That Srila Prabhupada wrote while he was on this Jaladuta tramp steamliner, knowing that he had about $10 in his pocket, had no idea, and Samari Mujari had also said to him, you have no idea what the Western world is like. And keep in mind, Prabhupada was a strict vegetarian, very, very serious Vaishnava disciple, who was very strict about these principles of mercy, truthfulness, cleanliness, and austerity. And he's walking right into the heyday of the hippie movement in America, which actually turned out to be a blessing because it was the hippies that listened to him. They were so strange. This dude is too cool. We're going to find out what he's doing. And that actually is where he took root. So these are the prayers that he actually said. Rajrani, are you available to read the Sanskrit for us?
English.
I'll read the English, and then I thought it'd be nice if you want to read the Sanskrit.
Okay. Boro kripa kaile Krishna dhamira prati niragiya hita karo ebe gati.
And as she's saying, you can sense it. This is actually a song that can be sung too. So the first verse is, my dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Let me make it a little smaller. Whoops, that's too small. Do not know why you brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. So he's referring to why you brought me here to this Western country. Okay. Radrani, are you going to be here to read these, or should we just go on without you?
You can go on without me.
I can't even read it.
Not a good sign.
আছে কিছু খারিয়াতা বায়ানুমানে নাহে কেন আনিবে নাই উগ্রস্থানে.
But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? This is prayer. Okay, don't go away. Oops. Okay.
Rajastamo gunera sabaya chanma Vasudeva katharuchi nahe se prasana.
Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absolute, let's see if I get this right. I can't seem to get it right.
Absorbed.
You're just going to have to trust us. We're reading this. Ignorance and passion, absorbed in material life. They think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. Well, that's reasonable for him to think that. Go ahead.
Tabe jadi tava kripa hoya haitu ki sakali sambhava hoye tumi se ko tuki.
But I know your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. So here he's referring to Krishna. He's saying, Krishna, it's your will. This can happen. Go ahead. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Sorry.
কিভাবে বুঝালে তারা বুঝে সেই রাসা এত কৃপা করো প্রভু করি নিজ ভাষা.
How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? O Lord, I am simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message.
তোমার ইচ্ছায় সবা হয় মায়া ভাষা তোমার ইচ্ছায় নাশা মায়ারা পরাসা.
All living entities have become under the control of the illusionary energy by your will. And therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of illusion.
তবা ইচ্ছা হয়ে যদি তাদের উদ্ধার বুঝিবে নিশ্চয় তবে কথা সে তোমার.
I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message.
ভাগবতের কথা সেই তবা অবতার ধীরা হইয়া শুনে যদি কানে বারবার.
The words of Srimad Bhagavatam, again the book that we've been referring to, are your incarnation. And if a sober person repeatedly receives it with submission and oral reception, then he will be able to understand your message. And now he's quoting, this is actually a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. He's quoting from the first canto, second chapter, text 17 through 21. You're on, Bhagavad.
It was basically a poem he wrote in his diary when they found his diary during his travels. It's actually very, very deep if you really meditate on what he's saying, you know, his mood of humility and surrender and dependence on God, and you know, it's very special. Shinvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantasto hi bhadrani vidunoti surit satam nashta prayashu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki tadarajastamo bhava kamalo bhadayasche chetatayarna vidham stitam sattve prasidati.
Okay, so again, there's another one here. Okay.
Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata भगवतत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते विद्यते हृदयग्रन्थिश्चिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयाः क्षीयन्ते च कर्माणि दृष्टा एव आत्मानीश्वरे.
Okay, so keep in mind, this is actually extracted from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So for those of you who may not be familiar with the Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll get a chance to get an idea of the kind of way it's written and what it's covering. So this is the paragraph, I'll read it quickly. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his message, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regularly attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise of transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. As soon as an irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as the master. Okay, Bajrani, I think we've got 3 or 4 more here if you want to do them. Maybe I'll do it. Is she good?
Yes, okay.
She's doing double duty.
Rajastamohate tabe paibe nishtar hidaya badrasati gujibe tahar.
So now we're back to Srila Prabhupada's prayer. He's saying, he will become liberated from the influence of the modes of ignorance and passion, and thus all inauspicious things accumulated in the core of the heart will disappear. Go ahead.
Korebe ki kore bujabo katha barose chahi khudrami dinahina kono shakti nahi.
How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do it on my own.
Now that's just a mood, we say, of a pure devotee. Actually, he's a very empowered, like you said, Jesus Christ was empowered by God. In the same way we say Prabhupada's spiritual teacher was empowered. But when someone is so empowered, they have such humility, he considers himself. It's not that he's actually, but that's
very
that's the
qualified,
actual mood of a real saintly person. Athacha enesho Prabhu katha bolibare yei tomar ichha Prabhu karo ebare.
Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like.
So you notice that mood he is in, he's just totally dependent on the Lord. But you notice, even he's saying failure. So that's the mood. We are not attached to just being successful, to whatever you want, my Lord, you must know what's best. Sometimes failures in certain ways can be actually stepping stones and things that are actually auspicious for our spiritual growth or learning. Akhila Jagat Guru Bachan se amar alankrita kore bara kamata tomar.
O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make me my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. So he's referring to Krishna when he says spiritual master of all the world. He's saying, God, you are the ultimate end of the end of the end. Like you say, the buck stops here. And so he's saying, you got the power. I'm your instrument. Do whatever we wish. I'm here to be working in your service.
Tava kripa hale mor katha sudhabe suniya sabara shoka dukha je guchibe.
Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from an unhappy conditions of life.
From all unhappy conditions. Aniya chojadi Prabhu amare nachate nachao Prabhu nachao se mate kashtera putali jata nachao se mate.
O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So you have brought me here to dance. Then make me dance, make me dance. O Lord, make me dance as you like.
Bhakti nai beda nai name kubadaro Bhakti Vedanta name ve sarthaka kor.
I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge. But I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhakti Vedanta. And now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purpose of Bhakti Vedanta. And then he signed this on the 18th of September 1965. So this was his prayer before he got off the boat in Boston. And now we're going to actually take a look at what happened.
Right, notice what he signed off himself as the most unfortunate and significant beggar. A lot of people these days actually call themselves God, you know, they come and give, we are God, you know, but look at him, and I guess my show will explain a little bit what he achieved.
Yeah, so we're going to take turns doing this. We're all going to do it together. So I'm going to just read this. I don't want to keep you guys too long. Maybe we'll just postpone that. If we have a chance, I'll read it at the end. There's about 10 or 15 plates here. And I like this because it's got nice illustrations, so it'll keep you visually entertained. And what we'll do is we'll go around the room. We'll start with Francisco. Give everybody a chance to read a little. It's no obligation. If you prefer not to read, just say pass, and we'll pass it along to the next person. But it'll give everybody a chance to get involved. And this is sort of a chronological order of just some of the major milestones along the way to what happened in America. Go ahead, Francisco.
Okay.
Loud so everybody can hear, please.
His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, 1896-1977, was sent by the Lord Krishna to fulfill Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction.
And it says, Priviti Achi Yatra Nagara Grama Sarvatra Pachi Habi Mori Nama. That's Bengali, go ahead.
In every town and village in the world, my name will be heard. Srila Prabhupada is widely regarded as the world's preeminent exponent of the teachings and practice of Bhakti Yoga to the Western world. He is a Gaudiya Vaishnava, spiritual teacher, and the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, commonly known as the Hare Krishna movement.
Okay, Acharya means not just a teacher, but a teacher who teaches by example. So it's not one of these things where say as I do, do as I say, not as I do. Do as I say and do as I do. So it's an important thing because it's easy to say one thing and do something else. But Srila Prabhupada really demonstrated in his own personal life as well. Okay, Summer, you want to read? We're going around the room. If you
See it that well.
okay, would you like to read?
Sure. He appeared as
Abhaicharan Day.
Abhaicharan Day on September 1st
A little louder too.
in 1896 in Calcutta. His father was Gaur Mohan Day,
Yep.
a cloth merchant, and his mother was Rajani. Gaur Mohan was a pure
Vaishnava.
Vaishnava, and he raised his son to be Krishna conscious. Gaur Mohan wanted goals for his son. He wanted Abe to become servant of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, to become a preacher of the Bhagavatam, and to learn the devotional art of playing the
Mridanga drum, which is what this is.
drum. He regularly received sadhus in his home, and he would always ask them, "Please bless my son, that Srimati Radharani will grant him her blessings." Abe was also enamored with the
Rath Yatra Festival of the
Yatra
Lord.
Festival of the Lord Jagannatha. With the help of his father, he built a Raghunath cart and had the Raghunath Festival with his friends.
And that's what this is a picture of here. And I believe you had said to me you had seen us last 4th of July. That's our entry in the 4th of July parade here. Many of you have seen our parade, folks. And we're carrying on with that tradition. I'm going to make this bigger. Okay, so we can all see the pictures a little bit. So this is actually a diorama. I don't know if it's in Vrindavan or Mayapur, Delhi, or Bombay. I mean, we got centers all over the world, but somebody could photograph. Okay, so now this is a picture of Bhakti Siddhanta. Bhakti Siddhanta, which is Srila Prabhupada's teacher, they referred to him as the Singha Guru, Singha meaning lion. And he was ferocious as a lion and yet as gentle as a lamb. So if you were inclined to want to take up Krishna consciousness, he would cuddle you like a baby lamb, and he would do whatever it took to get you to grow your Krishna consciousness. And if you came in with some nonsense New Age philosophy, he'd chop you to pieces. He wouldn't tolerate any of it. It was just like, that's completely bogus nonsense. We don't want to hear it. It's not going to do anything for you. It's, according to Lord Shiva, it's the worst destruction in the world today. So therefore, Bhaktisiddhanta did not mix his words. You're either on board or you're going to have to defend yourself, and he's going to come at you with a ton of... He was also known as a walking encyclopedia. He had an incredible ability to he had the scriptures memorized, he knew the philosophy inside out. And in fact, some people in Calcutta, they had some deviant people preaching in Calcutta, they wouldn't even hold a program when he was there. They were so concerned that he would come in. Think of it this way, if somebody's down on the corner selling bad cars, and you're a qualified mechanic, and you know he's selling cars where the transmission's going to drop out, you're going to feel some obligation to tell people, don't go buy a car from this guy. And that's kind of what he was doing on a spiritual level. He said, don't get involved with that. It's not going to do you any good. And you can philosophically defend it. So let's see what they have to say about Bhakti Siddhanta here. So that's his picture. There's books about his life, which is extraordinary too. Okay, who are we up to? Marguerite, would you like to read? No. Okay.
It's
Okay,
too
Judy?
small.
No obligation. Mark, you want to do it?
It's really small.
The writing is not very
I'm sorry, but we can only make it so big. Come
In
forward.
1922, Abe had the first meeting with his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta
Saraswati
Saraswati
Thakur.
a prominent religious scholar and the founder of the 64
Gaudiya Maths.
Gaudiya Maths
Those are temples.
Vedic institutes. At first, Abe did not want to meet him, having been unimpressed by the so-called sadhus who used to visit his father's house. But a friend of Abe had insisted, escorting him to the quarters of the Gaudiya
Gaudiya
Maths,
Maths.
where they were brought to him in the presence of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. No sooner did Abe and his friend respectfully bow before the saintly person and prepare to sit than he said to them, "You are educated young men. Why don't you preach the Lord Chaitanya's message throughout the whole world?" Abe was very surprised that the sadhu had immediately asked them to become preachers on his behalf. Impressed by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he wanted to test him with intelligent inquiries. Abe proclaimed one to be a supporter of Gandhi's cause for political emancipation. In the spirit of Indian nationalism, therefore, Abe required, "Who will hear your Chaitanya's message? We are a dependent country. First, India must become independent. How can we spread India's culture if we are under British rule?"
Okay, so hopefully the answer will be in the next part here. So here we see, so that was Bhaktisiddhanta. Here we see house in Udardanga, Kolkata, which is Calcutta, where Srila Prabhupada first met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It is situated at 64 14 Gorabari Lane. So these are actually places that are still, there. They haven't fallen apart yet. 100 years ago. Okay, who are we up to here? Gabrielle, do you want to read?
Oh boy. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta replied that Krishna consciousness didn't have to wait for a change in Indian politics, nor was it dependent on who ruled. Krishna consciousness was so important that it could not wait. All governments were temporary. The eternal reality was Krishna consciousness, and the real self was the spirit soul. No man-made political system could help humanity. This was the verdict of the Vedic scriptures and the line of spiritual masters.
Okay, so again, Bhaktisiddhanta was right on target. Prabhupada came in and he was kind of temporarily distracted by the whole, remember the politics in India, that India didn't get its liberation, didn't get its independence in 1947, and this was going on like 1930 something. So it was a big thing. The British had ruled India for almost 200 years. Okay, so there we go. So here we see, again, another diorama of Bhaktisiddhanta sitting, and Srila Prabhupada, probably the one with the garlands on, who's still a householder and running a pharmacy, and his friend, and these are some of his other disciples, and it's the first time he met him. So it was a momentous moment. Okay, Lori, would you like to read? No, Frank, can you read?
So.
Come front and center.
Real public welfare work, he said, should go beyond concerns of the temporary. Thank you. Should go beyond concerns of the temporary and prepare a person for his next life and his eternal relationship with the Supreme. Abai concluded that this was certainly not dubious sadhu. He listened attentively to the arguments, become convinced. That very night he had actually accepted Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati as his spiritual master. Not officially, Prabhupada said, but in my heart, I was thinking that I had met a very nice, saintly person.
So, just as we see in the world today, there's a lot of, shall we call, charlatan people preaching all sorts of so-called pseudo-spiritual philosophies. Unfortunately, this is our human condition. It goes on all the time in all different generations and different places, and it was going on in Bengal. And in fact, many of the so-called sadhus were not really necessarily sadhus in even the strangest stretch of the imagination. And so that's why Srila Prabhupada was a little hesitant, because he knew about these so-called sadhus. And he said, I'm not, like today, a lot of people go, I'm not interested in religion. All of us who have some faith have probably encountered that with people. I'm not into any kind of religion. I do my own spiritual. What do they say? I'm spiritual but not religious. It doesn't make any sense at all, but they like to say that. Okay, so, but in this case, he met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and he was like, whoa. Because when you hear real knowledge, the soul kind of wakes up and goes, whoa, this is different. This is not the usual soft shoe shuffle you get down at the happy church. Okay, this is something different. So he picked up on it. He realized, even though he didn't make a formal commitment, he said, I got to pay attention to this man, and I want to be his disciple. So this is Srila Prabhupada, I believe. This is him, with probably his mother and father, his I'm not sure who they are. That's his son, and I believe that's his wife. Okay, so let's see. Hare, it's your turn if you feel like reading.
Give me a book.
Sorry.
In 1932,
You're not all, actually, I think this is the longest one.
the book.
You got it.
Krishna's Mercy and Hare Krishna. In 1932, Abhay received initiation from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Abhay's family's responsibilities and his preaching, however, seemed to conflict. His wife was religious at home, but didn't like the idea to spread Krishna consciousness. When Abhay attempted to hold gatherings in their home and speak of the Bhagavad Gita, she preferred to stay upstairs drinking tea. Tea? Ugh. Still, despite her obstinacy, Abhay remained patient and tried to include her. In 1940, large national and international events continued, including World War I and World War II, and in 1947, India gained independence. But the national happiness was soon followed by horror as hundreds of thousands died in the fighting that followed the partition of the nation into India and Pakistan. Abhay was not hopeful about promises for peace, nor did he consider India independence the solution, unless the leaders were God conscious. What would change? There would be, in the Back to Godhead, in this article, Gandhi Janai talks, he wrote, fighting will go on between Hindu and Mohammedan, between Christians and Christians, between Buddhists and Buddhists, till the day of annihilation. His point, as long as people are possessed of selfish interests and desires of sense gratification, they will continue fighting. Real unity was possible only on the platform of spiritual understanding and service to the Supreme. Recognizing Abhay's philosophical learning and devotion, that he had
Gaudiya Vaishnava
Gaudiya
Society.
Vaishnava Society honored him in 1947 with the title of Bhaktivedanta.
Okay, so Vedanta means the end of, and Bhakti means the devotion. So what they're saying here is that Srila Prabhupada was given the honorarium of being referred to as the final conclusive end, the authority of devotion. That's what they're saying. It's a very, very tremendous honorarium. Okay, so now we're going to, these are nice and short, so we're going to click through these here. Sorry, you want to read? Can you read? Sasha looks like she's in the Z zone.
Struggling alone, with great difficulty, even when Alai was unable to raise enough money to publish regular issues of Back to Godhead magazine, he continued writing, presenting himself as a humble servant who would explain his ideas and how to apply India's original Krishna conscious culture as a successful solution to all manner of dilemmas.
So here we see a picture of him at the printing press in Calcutta, and he would save his pennies and literally walk long, long, long distances. So he had money to buy paper, to print magazines, and eventually books for our benefit. So right from the very beginning, before he came to America, he was undergoing tremendous austerity. So here we go here. Let's see what this is. Okay, who's up? Robert, you want to do this? All right, come on in front and say here. We want to try to get through this. I appreciate everybody's patience. We usually don't drag out too long.
The 1950s proved very difficult years for Abhay. In Delhi, he spent his time writing and approaching donors to whom he preached Bhagavad Gita. He was calling on wealthy men, presenting his manuscripts and explaining his mission, but few responded, lacking money to buy even proper clothes. Abhay went through the chilly Delhi winter without a jacket. He would regularly walk to the printers to read the proofs of Back to Godhead. When the printer asked him why he was intent on producing his newspaper under such hardships, he replied, "It is my mission." He managed to pay the printers small amounts at intervals. After picking up the copies from the printer, Abhay would walk around the city selling them. He would take a seat at a tea stand, and when someone sat beside him, he would ask him to please take a copy of Back to Godhead.
Okay, so Prabhupada was the original Sankirtan distributor. This is the League of Devotees building here. Okay, Ed, you want to read this one? And then maybe we'll break and get the shot and continue.
Sri Prabhupada at Janasi in 1954. Once a hospital customer in the city of Jhansi invited Abhay to lecture at the Gita Mandir. His lecture was well received. Leaving his Allahabad business affairs in the hands of his son, he tried to create a spiritual movement in Jhansi. Abhay was 56, and he felt that he must now begin very seriously manifesting the orders of his spiritual master. In 1954, he wrote a charter and legally registered his movement as, quote, the League of Devotees, end quote. wanted candidates from any nationality to qualify themselves as real Brahmins for preaching the teachings of Bhagavad Gita for all practical purpose throughout the whole world. Deserving candidates will be provided with free boarding and lodging. Apply A.C. Bhaktivedanta, founder and secretary of the League of Devotees, Bharata Bhawan, P.O. Jhansi, Uttar Pradesh. Abhay Charan, director. At Jhansi, he had to leave his building when the governor's wife insisted that it be used for a ladies' club instead of the League of Devotees. Without a place to stay and with no real support, he left Jhansi to Delhi.
Okay, so for the sake of time and in honor of everybody's being very patient here, we usually break around now to take prasadam, but we're not going to leave this. We'll just set it aside for a couple minutes. We'll say the prasadam prayers, and everybody will get some nice prasadam, sit down, and try to control yourself and eat your prasadam, and quietly we'll continue to go around. The rest of it actually goes pretty quick. The pictures are big and the paragraphs are short. But I don't want to drag this out too long. So let's do this real quick here. Or hopefully it'll come up. And like we said many times, if you know it, follow along. And then at the end, we'll ask somebody to read the English. And let me see if I can make it a little bigger. And then we'll get the prasadam. I'm assuming they're probably ready out in the kitchen. And we'll move along here. Okay, so please follow along with me. Sarira Vidya Tenpriyate Ka Jivele Sayasagare Arnavale Jayati Lomoya Sigurvati Jageta Kritina Samsare Krishna Baladaya Moy Karibor Jivajai Swabhasara Nilvai Sayanamrita Radha Krishna Lunaka Ramita Kolo Chaitanitai Jai Mai Kai. Okay, so who maybe hasn't done it for a while would like to read the English translation of that nice Bengali prayer from Bhaktivinoda Thakur?
I will.
Oh, good.
O Lord, this material body is a lump of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths to death. Somehow we have fallen into this ocean of material sense enjoyment, and of all the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and uncontrollable. It is very difficult to conquer the tongue in this world. But you, dear Krishna, are very kind to us and have given us such nice prasad just to control the tongue. Now we take this prasadam to our full satisfaction and glorify their lordship, Shri Shri Radha Krishna, and in love call for the help of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda.
Very good. And so for those of you who may not be familiar with the word prasadam, it literally means in Sanskrit mercy, and it's most frequently used in reference to food which is first offered to Krishna. And some of you may notice that Bhadrani made an offering to the deities. And so we're going to do that right now. We're going to have a wonderful, nice vegetarian dinner. So please, do they have...
Before we end it, I was wondering, did you tell what Prabhupada maybe a misachieved what he...
We're going to do the rest of it once they get the prasadam. We only got halfway through.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to, because otherwise we'd be running really late.
To be continued, hey, more to come.
So to be continued. Hey, how are you going, Shambhala? Just in time for dinner.
I've done that before.
Okay, so most of you know how this works. Please go. Miguel is not here, so for anybody who can help at the end, maybe help us clean up a little bit, we would greatly appreciate it. And for those, though, maybe you can help get some of the tables. Make sure everybody's got tables to work with. Come on over here to the dining room. We got a few people in there that are ready to serve you. And come on, scurry back here. And once everybody's back here, we'll continue reading. It's not a whole lot longer, but I didn't want to hold it up. All right, cool.
Are these the 3 books you were talking about?
No, up there on the top.
Oh, those?
No, go to the right. Go to the right, the ones with the pink lotus flower.
Oh, those, yes.
Those are the 3 original books that Srila Prabhupada, actually reprints.
The original.
Identical duplicates.
They're wonderful.
The original books. And Sarva, about 5 or 10 years ago, gave copies of that whole set to John Massey. And they were picked up and read by people coming and going over there a little bit. And then I guess
I think he still has one copy left.
Well, Lori picked it up and put it on, started reading it, and then just last week, Robert got the other half of it, or one of the other volumes.
This is my request book, or which one?
No, I'm talking about the one way up on the top shelf, way up, right there, those three
The
books.
three ones.
Those were the original books that should have
That
cost like
volume 1, 2,
$800.
and 3, and then you wrote the rest all this later. Yeah.
So we're breaking a little bit for Prashad, and we're going to be making accomplishments for the prophet, so we're going to
Very
continue
interesting.
that. I just want to give everybody a chance to get some Prashad and get you back in your seats. And then we'll continue reading. And the 22nd is the 50th anniversary of when Srila came to America.
He came in September 22nd in Boston.
He landed in Boston September 22nd, that's right.
So I guess there's going to be some celebrations in this kind of a
Well, they're
place.
celebrating all year long.
But there won't be anything in this area.
Well, this is it right here.
Tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, part of it, yeah.
Group, and then we're
Yeah, sweet.
nice program, our usual program. Is Mark? Where's Mark? You see where Mark is?
Yeah.
Mark, are you out there? Okay, I was just gonna say, I completely forgot to start my recording device, so you basically have the only recording, but I guess it's visual, so that's okay. I completely forgot to start my audio recorder. So it's good that you recorded it. How are we doing over there, Lauren? Okay. Good. Deeply absorbed.
Yeah, we can pull the MP3 off of the
But
video.
I mean, it looks like you took it away, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, I can do that myself. Right?
Yeah, oh yeah.